Tonight's journey is called Relaxing Sleeping in Space, Facts to Fall Asleep To. There are no mid-roll ads in this video, so once you settle in, nothing will interrupt your rest. Just my voice, some wonderful things to learn about, and later, hours of soft music at 432 Hz to carry you through until morning. Before we begin, I have a tiny favor to ask. If you enjoy these videos, would you mind tapping the like button and subscribing to the channel? It makes such a difference. It helps other people who are lying awake right now, just like you, find their way here too. And I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me roughly how many hours of sleep you normally get each night. I'm always curious, and it's a lovely little community we're building here. Now then, tonight we're going somewhere quite extraordinary. We're leaving Earth behind just for a little while and drifting up into the stars. We're going to explore what happens when humans try to sleep in space. It's a fascinating story that stretches back over 60 years, filled with curious details about floating arms, quiet little sleeping pods, and the gentle science of how our bodies keep time. You don't need to remember any of this. You don't need to concentrate. Just let the words wash over you. And if your eyes grow heavy, let them close. That's the whole point. I'll keep talking softly, and you can drift away whenever you're ready. Let's begin. The first dreams above the earth. Have you ever wondered who the very first person to fall asleep in space was? It's such a lovely thought, isn't it? Someone, somewhere, had to be the first human being to close their eyes and drift off while floating high above the world. And the story of how it happened is rather charming. It was August the 6th, 1961. The Soviet Union had been sending people into orbit for only a few months, and a young cosmonaut named Gherman Titov climbed aboard a tiny spacecraft called Vostok 2. He was just 25 years old, which still makes him the youngest professional astronaut ever to fly in space. His mission would last about 25 hours, circling the Earth 17 times. And during that flight, he became the first person in history to sleep among the stars. Now, Titov later said that he slept quite well. He used the phrase sleeping like a baby, which is a wonderful image when you think about it. A young man alone in a small capsule, the whole earth turning slowly beneath him, the silence of space all around, and he simply closed his eyes and slept. There's something deeply comforting about that. Even in the most extraordinary circumstances, the body still knows how to rest. But there was one small problem that nobody had anticipated. When Titov relaxed and drifted off, his arms began to float. In weightlessness, there is nothing pulling your limbs down, so his arms just rose up gently in front of him, hovering there in the cabin. He woke to find them drifting near the instrument panel, and he realized that if he moved in his sleep, he might accidentally press a button or flip a switch. So he did something wonderfully practical. He took a belt and strapped his arms down by his sides. Problem solved. It's one of those small human details that makes the story feel so real. Titov also experienced something else during that flight that nobody had expected. He became the first person to suffer from space sickness, a sort of motion sickness caused by the confusion between what your eyes see and what your inner ear feels in weightlessness. It stayed with him even while he slept, which must have been unpleasant. But despite all of that, he proved something remarkable. He showed the world that humans could not only survive in space, but actually live there. They could work and they could rest. Let that settle for a moment. The first person to sleep in space did so over 60 years ago. Since then, hundreds of astronauts and cosmonauts have followed, each one closing their eyes in orbit, trusting the universe to hold them while they dreamed. Now, on the other side of the world, the Americans were working on their own space program, and their first experience with sleep in orbit came a couple of years later, during the very last mission of Project Mercury. On May the 15th, 1963, an astronaut named Gordon Cooper launched aboard a capsule called Faith 7. His mission would last 34 hours, making it the longest American spaceflight at that time. Cooper had to sleep during the flight, and he reported something lovely. He said that weightlessness was actually very comfortable for resting. Even though the Mercury capsule was tiny, barely larger than a phone booth, he found that floating in place was surprisingly pleasant. There was no pressure on his back or shoulders, no need to find the right position. He just relaxed and let himself hang there in the quiet darkness of space. Here's a detail I find rather wonderful. Cooper was so calm and collected as a pilot that he actually fell asleep on the launch pad before liftoff. While the engineers were running through their final checks and the countdown was ticking away, Cooper simply dozed off in his seat. His heart rate during sleep in orbit was later analyzed, and the data suggested he was experiencing vivid dreams. This was one of the earliest clues that the REM stage of sleep, the phase where we dream most intensely, was preserved even in weightlessness. The brain, it seems, will dream no matter where the body happens to be. Think about that for a moment as you lie there tonight. Whether you're in your own bed or floating in a capsule above the clouds, the dreaming part of your mind carries on doing exactly what it has always done. It creates stories, processes memories, and lets you wander through imaginary landscapes while your body rests. That hasn't changed in all the years of human spaceflight. Dreaming is something that belongs to us wherever we are. Now, there's a lovely tradition connected to space sleep that I want to share with you. It goes all the way back to April the 12th, 1961, the day Yuri Gagarin became the first human being in space. On the morning of his launch, Gagarin was being driven to the launch pad when he asked the bus to stop so he could step out. The reason has become the stuff of legend. Ever since that day, cosmonauts launching from the same site in Kazakhstan have followed the same ritual, stopping at the very same spot on the road. It has become a kind of good luck tradition, a quiet moment of reflection before leaving the earth behind. It's completely unofficial, of course, but it has been repeated faithfully for decades. There's something beautiful about that continuity, the way humans create little rituals to comfort themselves before stepping into the unknown. And in a way, you might have your own version of that tonight. Perhaps you have a routine before bed, a cup of tea, a certain way you arrange your pillows, a podcast or a video that helps you wind down. These small habits are more important than you might think. They signal to your brain that it's time to let go, time to stop processing the day and begin the gentle slide towards sleep. As the early space programs gave way to longer missions, scientists began to notice something interesting about sleep in orbit. When the Skylab missions launched in 1973 and 74, astronauts spent weeks at a time living in a space station for the first time. And during those missions, researchers documented the first evidence that sleep architecture, the pattern of light sleep, deep sleep, and dreaming stages, was changing in microgravity. The deepest stages of sleep, the ones your body relies on most for physical recovery and memory processing, appeared to be somewhat suppressed during the early days of a mission. It was as though the brain was staying slightly more alert than usual, not quite willing to fully let go in this strange new environment. That makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Your brain is always looking out for you, even while you sleep. In an unfamiliar place, it keeps one ear open, so to speak, ready to wake you if something doesn't feel right. You might have noticed this yourself if you've ever slept in a hotel or a friend's spare room. The first night is often a little restless, and then by the second or third night, you begin to settle. Astronauts experience something similar, only their unfamiliar room happens to be floating 250 miles above the Earth. Over time, though, the brain does adapt. Studies from the space shuttle era showed that on missions lasting up to 17 days, the circadian system, that's your internal body clock, remained largely intact as long as the crew stuck to a consistent schedule. The body wants to find its rhythm. It wants to sync up with a regular pattern of activity and rest, and given even a few reliable cues, it will do its best to keep you on track. So as you lie there now, think of your body doing exactly that. Right now, your brain is reading the signals around you, the darkness, the stillness, the softness of your bed, the sound of my voice, and it's gently preparing you for sleep. It's been doing this for you every night of your life, and it's doing it right now. You don't have to try. You don't have to make sleep happen. You just have to let it arrive in its own time, the way it always does. Let's move on together. There's so much more to discover, and all of it can wait until you're ready to hear it. Or not. If you're already feeling drowsy, that's perfectly fine. Just let yourself go. The quiet science of floating in the dark. Now let's talk about something rather wonderful. What it actually feels like to sleep while floating. Because when you think about falling asleep here on Earth, so much of it is about physical sensation, the weight of your body pressing into the mattress, the way your pillow cradles your head, the feeling of blankets settled over you. All of those things are created by gravity, that invisible force pulling you gently downward. And in space, all of that disappears. Imagine, just for a moment, that the bed beneath you slowly melted away, not in a frightening way, but softly, gently. Imagine the pressure on your back and shoulders gradually easing until there was nothing there at all. No mattress, no pillow, no weight, just you, suspended, perfectly still, perfectly supported by nothing. That is what weightlessness feels like when you close your eyes to sleep. Astronauts have described it as one of the most peaceful physical sensations imaginable. There are no pressure points, no need to roll over because your hip aches or your arm has gone numb. Every part of your body is equally supported by the emptiness around it. Of course, that same weightlessness creates a few practical challenges that the engineers had to solve. And the solutions are, I think, rather clever and endearing. The first challenge is the simplest one. If you fall asleep floating in a space station and you're not attached to anything, you will drift. Slowly, gently, but definitely. You might float across the module, bump softly into a wall, and then drift back the other way. You could end up tangled in cables, or blocking an air vent, or just bobbing around like a soap bubble in a hallway. So from the very earliest long-duration missions, sleeping bags in space have served a purpose that no sleeping bag on Earth needs to serve. They are restraints. You zip yourself in, and the bag is attached to the wall, and that keeps you in one place all night. On the International Space Station today, the crew sleep in small private booths called crew quarters. They're located in a section of the station called Node 2, which has the rather lovely name Harmony. Each booth is about the size of a phone box, maybe just a touch larger. Inside, there's a sleeping bag fixed to one wall, a small lamp, a laptop for personal use, and a ventilation system. That's it. It's tiny, but astronauts often say that their crew quarter is the most precious space on the entire station because it's the only place where they can truly be alone. In a station the size of a large house shared with up to 6 or more people, that little booth becomes a sanctuary, a place to read, to listen to music, to call family, and of course to sleep. Now, I mentioned ventilation, and this is one of those details that sounds ordinary but is actually quite important. Here on Earth, when you breathe out, the warm air you exhale rises naturally. It drifts upward because warm air is lighter than cool air, and fresh air flows in to replace it. You never even notice it happening, but in microgravity, warm air doesn't rise. It has nowhere to go. So when an astronaut is sleeping, the carbon dioxide they breathe out just stays right there, forming an invisible pocket around their face. Slowly, with each breath, that pocket grows a little richer in carbon dioxide and a little poorer in oxygen. If nothing were done about this, the astronaut could develop headaches, feel groggy, have their sleep disrupted, or, in an extreme case, be at serious risk. So each crew quarter has fans that keep the air moving gently around the sleeper's face, carrying away the exhaled air and bringing in fresh oxygen. The station uses a clever safety measure too. The ventilation fans are arranged so that if one fan fails, a second one keeps running. It's a quiet little backup system working through the night, making sure everyone keeps breathing comfortably. Engineers have even studied the best way to direct this gentle airflow. Research using computer simulations of how air moves in small spaces found that blowing air from the side is actually better than blowing it directly at someone's face. A lateral breeze, coming from the left or right rather than straight on, does a better job of clearing away carbon dioxide without creating that uncomfortable feeling of wind on your skin. It reduces the amount of carbon dioxide a sleeper inhales by around 8% compared to air delivered from the front. It's such a small, thoughtful detail, the kind of thing you'd never think about unless it was your job to help someone breathe easily while they sleep in space. Think about that for a moment. Right now, as you lie in your bed, the air around you is behaving itself perfectly. Warm breath rising, cool air settling, a gentle, invisible circulation, keeping everything fresh without any effort at all. Gravity is doing that for you, silently, constantly. It's one of those things we never appreciate until we learn that in space, it takes an entire engineering system to replicate what Earth does for us for free. Now, here's another challenge of sleeping on the space station that you might not have considered: noise. The ISS is not a quiet place. It's filled with machinery, all of it running constantly. Pumps circulate water and coolant. Fans push air through filters and vents. Experiments hum and click in their racks. And the life support systems work around the clock to keep the atmosphere breathable. The background noise on the station typically sits somewhere between 60 and 72 decibels. To put that in perspective, 60 decibels is roughly the sound of a normal conversation or the background noise in a busy office. 72 is getting closer to the sound of a vacuum cleaner heard from a few feet away. Now imagine trying to fall asleep in an office where everyone is having a conversation and someone in the corner is running a vacuum every single night for 6 months. That is what astronauts contend with. Over time, this constant noise can increase stress, affect mood, and even contribute to gradual hearing changes. So most crew members sleep with earplugs, and many also use sleep masks to block out any stray light. There's something quite touching about that image. These extraordinary people living in one of the most advanced machines ever built, orbiting the Earth at 17,000 miles an hour, and at the end of the day, they put in their earplugs, pull on a sleep mask, and zip themselves into a sleeping bag, just like someone on a camping trip. The human need for darkness and quiet doesn't care how sophisticated your surroundings are. We all need the same simple things to rest well. To help manage the noise, the space station has been fitted with specialized sound monitoring equipment. Small devices called acoustic dosimeters are placed around the station to measure exactly how loud things are in different locations at different times. Sound engineers on the ground use this data to identify particular noise spikes, a pump that's vibrating too much, a fan that's developed a rattle, and then work out how to dampen or fix the problem. It's an ongoing effort, a constant quiet battle to make the station just a little bit softer, a little bit kinder to the ears of the people living there. Meanwhile, the design of those sleeping bags has come a long way from the early days. The current sleeping bags used on the Russian side of the station are made by a company with the rather magnificent name NPO Krasnaya Zvezda, which means Red Star. They have a front zipper, ventilation openings, and even a built-in hood that can act as a pillow. The American sleeping bags were redesigned in 2015, and they're quite thoughtful in their construction. They were made to fit the widest possible range of body sizes, from the 5th percentile to the 95th percentile of the crew population. They have larger vents covered with fine netting to let heat escape, because the inside of a crew quarter can reach around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 27 degrees Celsius. That's quite warm, especially when you're zipped into a bag. One of the nicest details about the newer design is a small expandable section that allows astronauts to pull their knees up towards their chest while they sleep. This matters because in weightlessness, your body naturally settles into a slightly curled posture with your arms floating forward and your legs drawing up a little. Older sleeping bags were too restrictive to allow this, and astronauts complained of lower back pain because they couldn't stretch or shift into a more natural position. The new design lets them curl up, which is really just the fetal position, the same position most of us find comforting here on Earth. And isn't that a lovely thought to hold as you lie there now? Whatever position feels most comfortable to you in this moment, that's the right one. If you want to curl up on your side, do that. If you want to stretch out on your back, that's fine too. Your body knows what it needs. Even astronauts floating in space instinctively want to curl up, just the way you might be doing right now. Let your body settle into whatever shape feels good. Let your breathing slow. There's no rush, nowhere to be, nothing to do except lie here and listen, or not listen, or simply drift. We'll keep going together in just a moment. There's more to discover about the gentle science of sleeping among the stars. Your body's hidden clock. There's a tiny part of your brain that has been keeping time for you since the day you were born. You've never seen it, never felt it working, and you almost certainly never think about it. But right now, at this very moment, it's ticking away quietly, helping to guide you towards sleep. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. That's quite a mouthful, so scientists often just call it the SCN. It sits deep inside a region of your brain called the hypothalamus, and it is, in the simplest terms, your body's master clock. This tiny cluster of cells, no bigger than a grain of rice, controls the daily rhythm of your entire body. It tells you when to feel awake and when to feel drowsy. It regulates the release of hormones, the rise and fall of your body temperature, your appetite, your mood, and dozens of other processes that follow a roughly 24-hour cycle. This cycle is called your circadian rhythm, from the Latin words circa, meaning about, and dies, meaning day, about a day. Your body runs on a clock that is almost but not quite exactly 24 hours long. On Earth, this clock stays perfectly in step with the world around you because it has a powerful signal to follow. Sunlight. Every morning when light enters your eyes, it travels along a special pathway directly to the SCN, and that little cluster of cells resets itself, synchronizing your internal clock with the rotation of the planet. Then, as evening falls and the light fades, your SCN triggers the release of melatonin, the hormone that makes you feel sleepy. It's an elegant, ancient system that has been working in mammals for millions of years. But now, imagine what happens to that system when you're orbiting the Earth on the International Space Station. The station circles the planet once every 90 minutes. That means the sun rises and sets 16 times in every 24-hour period. 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets, each one rushing past the windows in a blaze of color before giving way to the blackness of space and then blazing back again just 45 minutes later. For your body clock, this is chaos. The SCN is looking for one sunrise and one sunset to anchor its rhythm, and instead it's getting 16 of each. The light signal that has kept your ancestors in sync with the Earth for millennia suddenly becomes meaningless. It flickers on and off so rapidly that the brain simply cannot use it as a reliable cue anymore. This is one of the fundamental challenges of living in orbit. Without a stable light signal, the body's circadian rhythm can begin to drift. Scientists call this free running, and it's a bit like a clock that's lost its connection to the time signal. It keeps ticking, but it gradually falls out of step with the schedule the astronaut is supposed to follow. When this happens, an astronaut might feel wide awake when they're supposed to be sleeping, or crushingly tired when they need to be sharp and focused for a complex task. Their mood can become unstable, their concentration wavers, and their overall performance begins to suffer. To prevent this, life on the space station follows a carefully managed schedule set by mission control on the ground. Wake-up times, meal times, exercise periods, and sleep periods are all planned in advance, and the crew follows this routine as closely as possible. These social and structural cues help to substitute for the natural light signals that the body can no longer rely on. In a sense, mission control becomes the sun. Their schedule tells the astronaut's body when it's morning and when it's night, even though the real sun is rising and setting every 45 minutes outside the window. But even with a strict schedule, the timing of sleep matters enormously. Research has shown that the best time to begin sleeping is about 6 hours before your core body temperature reaches its lowest point. Your body temperature follows its own daily curve, dipping to its coolest in the very early hours of the morning and peaking in the late afternoon. When sleep is aligned with this natural temperature dip, it's deeper, more restorative, and less likely to be interrupted. When it's misaligned, even by a few hours, the quality of sleep drops noticeably. You might have experienced this yourself. If you've ever had to sleep at an unusual time, perhaps after a night shift or during a long flight, you'll know that the sleep you get doesn't feel quite as satisfying, even if you manage the same number of hours. That's because your body's internal timing was out of step with when you were trying to rest. In space, getting this alignment right is critical, and it's something that mission planners work hard to achieve for every crew member. Now, scientists and engineers have come up with a beautiful solution to help astronauts keep their body clocks on track, even without reliable sunlight. They've developed special lighting systems called circadian light panels. These use LED technology that can change color throughout the day, mimicking the natural shift of sunlight from dawn to dusk. In the morning, when it's time to wake up and be alert, the lights emit a cool, blue-enriched glow. Blue light is particularly effective at suppressing melatonin and telling the brain that it's daytime. Then, as the scheduled evening approaches, the lights gradually shift towards warmer, redder tones, the kind of light you'd see during a sunset. This red shifted light has much less effect on melatonin, allowing the brain to begin its natural wind down towards sleep. During a mission called Hugin, a European Space Agency astronaut named Andreas Mogensen tested a personal version of this lighting system. He had a special lamp in his crew cabin that was synchronized to his individual sleep schedule. As his bedtime approached, the lamp would slowly transition from bright, activating light to soft, warm sunset tones. It was, in effect, a tiny artificial sunset happening inside his sleeping booth every single night. What a lovely image that is. A small glowing lamp creating a private evening just for one person 250 miles above the Earth, while the real sun blazes past the window every 45 minutes, completely ignored. This idea of personalized lighting is something that could eventually help all of us sleep better, not just astronauts. Many of us spend our evenings bathed in the blue light of screens, phones, tablets, and televisions, and this can delay the release of melatonin and push our natural sleep time later. If you've ever noticed that you feel more awake after scrolling through your phone in bed, that's exactly what's happening. The blue light is telling your SCN that it's still daytime. But tonight you've made a different choice. You're lying in the dark or perhaps in very soft light, listening to a calm voice, and your brain is reading all of those signals correctly. It knows what time it is. It's already beginning to release the melatonin that will carry you into sleep. You don't need to do anything to help it along. Just keep resting, keep breathing slowly, and let your body's ancient clock do what it does best. There's one more thing I want to share with you about how astronauts manage their rest, and it's a detail that always surprises people. Despite all the careful scheduling and the clever lighting systems, sleep in space is still significantly shorter than sleep on Earth. Studies tracking astronaut sleep over a 10-year period found that crew members on the space shuttle averaged just 5 hours and 56 minutes of sleep per night. On the International Space Station, it was only slightly better at 6 hours and 9 minutes. The recommended amount is 8.5 hours, which means astronauts were consistently getting around 2 hours less sleep than they needed night after night for the entire duration of their missions. 2 hours might not sound like very much, but sleep debt is cumulative. It builds up over time, like a tab you keep adding to but never pay off. After a week of losing 2 hours a night, that's 14 hours of missed sleep. After a month, it's 60 hours. After a 6-month mission on the space station, an astronaut may have accumulated a sleep deficit of over 350 hours. The effects of this are measurable and real. Reaction times slow down, attention wanders, decision-making becomes less reliable, and mood suffers. To cope with this, many astronauts turn to sleep medication. The numbers are quite striking. On shuttle missions, 78% of crew members used some form of sleep aid during their flight. On the space station, the figure is 75%. The most commonly used medication is zolpidem, which you might know by its brand name Ambien, followed by Zaleplon, sold as Sonata. These are the same medications that millions of people on Earth use to help them sleep. And in space, they serve the same purpose, giving the brain a gentle nudge towards rest when the environment and the schedule make natural sleep difficult. But here's the thing, you don't need any of that tonight. You're not in orbit. You're not dealing with 16 sunrises or the hum of life support machinery or a sleeping bag strapped to a wall. You're in your own bed, in your own space, with the whole night ahead of you and absolutely nothing you need to do. Your body knows this place, it knows this darkness, and it's already doing everything it needs to do to carry you gently into sleep. So let yourself rest. There's more to come, but there's no hurry. We have all the time in the world. What space does to a sleeping body. I want to tell you a story now about two brothers. It's one of the most remarkable experiments in the history of space science, and it has a lot to teach us about what happens to the human body when it spends a long time away from Earth. In 2015, NASA astronaut Scott Kelly launched to the International Space Station for a mission that would last nearly a full year. That alone was extraordinary. But what made this mission truly special was that Scott has an identical twin brother, Mark, who is also a former astronaut. While Scott lived and worked in orbit for 340 days, Mark stayed on Earth in Texas, living his normal life. Both brothers underwent the same extensive medical tests before, during, and after the mission. This allowed scientists to compare two genetically identical people, one in space and one on the ground, in a way that had never been done before. The results were fascinating and, in many cases, genuinely surprising. Let's start with something called telomeres. These are tiny protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes, a bit like the plastic tips on the ends of shoelaces. They prevent your DNA from fraying or becoming damaged. Over time, as we age, our telomeres gradually get shorter. It's one of the most reliable biological markers of aging. The shorter your telomeres, generally speaking, the older your cells are behaving. Now, here's the surprise. While Scott was in space, his telomeres actually got longer. Nobody expected that. The assumption had been that the stress of spaceflight would accelerate aging, not reverse it. But there it was in the data. His white blood cell telomeres were measurably longer than before the mission. For a brief, exciting moment, it almost seemed as though space might be some kind of fountain of youth. But the story didn't end there. Within just 48 hours of Scott landing back on Earth, his telomeres shortened dramatically. They snapped back, as if the body was suddenly catching up with the aging it had somehow paused. Over the following 6 months, they gradually returned to roughly where they had been before the flight. It was as though the body had kept a careful record and eventually settled its accounts. The study revealed something else that's quite profound. About 7% of Scott's gene expression, that's the way his DNA was being read and used by his cells, did not return to its pre-flight state even months after he came home. The changes were particularly noticeable in genes related to the immune system and DNA repair. Scientists described this as a kind of biological memory, as if Scott's body had been so deeply affected by the experience of living in space that some part of it carried the imprint permanently. Not in a harmful way necessarily, but in a measurable, lasting way. Think about that for a moment. The experiences we go through can leave traces not just in our memories, but in our very cells. The places we go, the challenges we face, the environments we live in, all of these things can subtly reshape our biology. It's a humbling thought, and rather beautiful too. Scott also lost about 7% of his body mass during the mission, and medical imaging revealed that the walls of his carotid artery, one of the major blood vessels carrying blood to the brain, had become thicker and showed signs of inflammation while he was in orbit. This wasn't observed in Mark down on Earth. The likely cause was the persistent shift of fluids towards the head that happens in weightlessness. On Earth, gravity pulls blood and fluid down towards your feet. In space, that doesn't happen, so fluid accumulates in the upper body and head, putting extra pressure on blood vessels that aren't designed for it. Despite all of these changes, one of the most reassuring findings of the twin study was how resilient the human body turned out to be. The vast majority of the biological changes observed in Scott, over 91%, reversed themselves within 6 months of returning to Earth. The body knew how to come home, biologically speaking. It knew how to recalibrate, to heal, to return to its baseline. That resilience is built into every one of us. Your body is extraordinarily good at recovering, at repairing, at finding its way back to balance. It's doing it right now, in fact, as you rest. Now, one of the reasons scientists care so much about sleep in space is because of what happens when people don't get enough of it. And this is true whether you're in orbit or right here on Earth. Sleep isn't just rest, it's maintenance. While you sleep, your brain is clearing away metabolic waste, consolidating memories, repairing cells, and rebalancing the chemicals that keep you thinking clearly. When that process is cut short, night after night, the effects accumulate in ways that can be genuinely dangerous. NASA uses a simple but powerful tool to measure how fatigue affects performance. It's called the Psychomotor Vigilance Test, and it works like this. An astronaut sits in front of a laptop screen and waits. At random intervals, a signal appears and they have to press a button as quickly as possible. That's it. It sounds almost too simple to be useful, but it's actually one of the most sensitive tests ever developed for detecting the effects of sleep loss. When someone is well rested, their responses are fast and consistent. When they're sleep deprived, their reaction times slow down, and they start having what scientists call lapses, moments where they simply don't respond at all because their attention has briefly switched off. These lapses are the real danger. In everyday life, a lapse might mean you miss a word in a conversation or forget what you were about to do. In space, a lapse during a critical procedure could have serious consequences. And the troubling thing about sleep deprivation is that people are often poor judges of how impaired they are. You might feel like you're functioning fine, but the test reveals that your brain is flickering on and off like a light with a loose connection. The history of accidents caused by fatigue in high-stakes environments offers some sobering examples. When the Space Shuttle Challenger was lost in 1986, the investigation found that fatigue had played a role in the decision-making process. Key managers involved in the critical discussions about whether it was safe to launch had been working extended hours with very little sleep, following a previous launch that had been canceled. Their judgment was compromised at exactly the moment it needed to be sharpest. Similarly, when the oil tanker Exxon Valdez ran aground in Alaska in 1989, causing one of the worst environmental disasters in history, the officer at the controls had managed only one brief nap in the 16 hours before the accident. He was exhausted, and his ability to navigate safely had been worn away by hours and hours without rest. On the space station itself, astronaut journals frequently list fatigue among their top concerns. There are accounts of crew members falling asleep while typing, of small procedural errors that were only caught because someone on the ground happened to notice. None of these incidents led to disaster, thankfully, but they illustrate just how relentless sleep deprivation can be. It doesn't announce itself with a fanfare. It creeps in quietly, shaving tiny fractions off your attention and your judgment, until one day the margin between a safe outcome and a dangerous one has become very thin indeed. But here's the thing I want you to take from all of this, and it's not a warning, it's a comfort. The fact that you are here right now choosing to rest means you are doing something genuinely important for yourself. Sleep is not laziness, it is not wasted time. It is one of the most productive things your body and brain can do. Every minute you spend resting tonight is a minute spent repairing, restoring, and strengthening yourself for tomorrow. So let that be a permission you give yourself right now. Permission to stop. Permission to do nothing. Permission to simply lie here and breathe and let sleep come whenever it's ready. You deserve this rest. Your body needs it, and it knows exactly what to do with it. We're going to continue our journey in just a little while, but for now, just rest. And before we drift on, just a gentle word. If you've been finding it difficult to fall asleep lately, or you'd like to learn more about things that might help, I sometimes share helpful resources and recommendations in the description below this video. There's no pressure at all, just a few things I've come across that some of you might find useful. Have a look whenever you like, and only if you want to. Now let's carry on, drifting away. And so, gently, we come to the end of our journey together tonight. We've traveled quite a long way, haven't we? From Gherman Titov strapping his floating arms to his sides in 1961 to the quiet hum of fans keeping astronauts breathing safely in their tiny sleeping booths. From the 16 sunrises that flash past the windows of the space station every single day, to the little grain of rice-sized clock deep in your brain that has been faithfully keeping time for you since the moment you were born. We've learned that the human body is remarkably tough, capable of adapting to the strangest environments imaginable, and yet beautifully sensitive, carrying the traces of its experiences in the very fabric of its cells. We've seen that even in the most extraordinary circumstances, floating weightless above the earth in a capsule no bigger than a wardrobe, the need for sleep remains. It is constant, universal, and deeply human. Astronauts dream the same dreams you do. They curl up the same way you do. They long for darkness and quiet, just like you. And we've learned that sleep is not a luxury. It is essential. It is your body's way of taking care of you, the same way it has taken care of every human being who has ever lived. Whether they rested in a cave, a castle, a cabin, or a tiny booth called Harmony, orbiting 250 miles above the clouds. Tonight, you don't have to orbit anything. You don't have to perform any tasks or pass any tests. The only thing ahead of you is rest, and it's already on its way. In a moment, the music will begin. It will play softly for a long, long time, and it's there just for you. You don't have to listen to it closely. You don't have to think about it at all. Just let it become part of the background, like the sound of rain on a window or the gentle hush of wind through trees. Let your thoughts wander wherever they want to go. Let your mind do whatever it feels like doing. There is no right way to fall asleep. There is only your way, and it's perfect. If you're still awake, that's fine. Sleep will find you. It always does. And if you're already drifting, then I'm glad. I hope the stars in your dreams are gentle ones. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. Thank you for being part of this little corner of the night. I'll be here next time you need me, whenever that is. Sleep well, rest deeply, and I'll see you in the next one. Good night.